Number 13. Mercury Capri. When the Mercury Capri first hit the market in 1991, a lot of people immediately felt like something about it was off. This small convertible was actually designed by Ford Australia specifically for the American market. A two-door, two-seater, front-wheel drive roadster. Under the hood, you had a 1.6-liter four-cylinder making 100 horsepower, or 132 horsepower in the turbo version. So why did so many people find it weird? Because the trunk was basically non-existent. You'd struggle to fit even a single grocery bag back there. With the top down, it actually looked pretty decent. But with the top up, the car almost had this slightly sad facial expression. And then there was the driving experience. Being a front-wheel drive convertible made it feel awkward in corners. And honestly, it wasn't even that enjoyable to drive in a straight line. Back in those years, American buyers just didn't connect with this car, and by 1994, sales had completely collapsed. What do you think? Does it look good or just strange? Let's talk about it in the comments, and let's move on to the next car. Number 12. Saturn SW2. Saturn was launched in 1985 as GM's fresh start. With plastic body panels, unique dealerships, and unusual marketing, they were trying to tell consumers one thing: we're different. And honestly, they were. The Saturn SW2 was the station wagon version of that philosophy. Introduced in 1993, it came with a 1.9-liter DOHC four-cylinder engine producing 124 horsepower. On paper, that sounds solid, and those plastic exterior panels had a purpose too, but visually, the car looked weird. Those plastic side panels made the design feel disconnected, like the car was made from two completely different materials that didn't quite belong together. It almost looked like someone took the top half of one car and placed it on the wrong body. Still, there was a smart side to it. Those panels didn't rust, and for families looking for a cheap and reliable car, this was actually a very practical option. That's why people bought it for a while, but over time it quietly faded away. Number 11. Dodge Neon. When the Dodge Neon first came out in 1995, almost everyone said the same thing. This car looks like it's smiling at you. And honestly, it kind of did. Big round headlights, a curved bumper line, and an innocent but slightly odd face. It was strange, but in a way, also kind of fun to look at. By 1998, this was the final year before the next generation. Under the hood, a 2.0-liter four-cylinder, 132 horsepower, front-wheel drive, 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 8 to 9 seconds. Here's the interesting part. The design was intentional. One of the designers believed that a car resembling a human face would sell better, but instead it gave the Neon a reputation as a cute economy car, and that became a problem. People didn't really take it seriously. Even though it was aimed at younger buyers, this wasn't what young car enthusiasts wanted. They were chasing muscle cars and aggressive sedans, not something that looked like it was smiling at them. Number 10. Ford Windstar. In the 1990s, when minivans started taking over, Ford wanted a piece of that market too, and they responded with the Ford Windstar. But there was one major problem. While the car just didn't look good, the 1998 Windstar had one of the most lifeless designs you could find on American roads at the time. A flat front, rounded sides, and an undefined rear. No matter what angle you looked at it from, it just wasn't appealing. And because of that, people simply didn't feel motivated to buy it. Engine-wise, it came with a 3.0 or 3.8-liter V6, with the more powerful version making around 200 horsepower, which was actually decent. But there were also serious safety concerns. Structural issues in certain model years were even investigated by authorities. But the biggest problem wasn't performance or safety, it was identity. The Windstar didn't stand out as a utility vehicle, and it didn't offer any excitement for drivers either. And when competitors like the Toyota Sienna entered the market, the Windstar suddenly looked even worse, so people just stopped buying it. Number 9. Chrysler LHS. Chrysler wanted to prove that they could build big luxury sedans too, so they decided to try something new. First introduced in 1994, the LHS entered its second generation in 1999, and that's when everything changed. It was completely redesigned, becoming rounder, puffier, and honestly, a lot more controversial. And not in a good way. Most people just didn't like how it looked. Thankfully, under the hood, it had a solid 3.5-liter SOHC V6 producing 253 horsepower paired with a 4-speed automatic. like. But design-wise, the 1999 model felt like an overinflated version of Chrysler's LH platform, especially the rear end, that huge rounded trunk, and those awkward unfinished corner lines. It just felt visually cluttered. Inside, sure, it was actually pretty decent. You could tell Chrysler really tried to make a good car, but it wasn't enough, because from the outside, this thing looked like a grandma's car. It didn't have Cadillac's sharp presence or Lincoln's elegance, and in the end, Chrysler just couldn't compete. Number 8, Geo Metro. Geo was GM's brand for cars developed with their Japanese partners, and when they teamed up to build something new, people were genuinely curious about how it would turn out. But once the car hit the market, it was kind of a letdown. In 1993, the base engine was a tiny 1.0-liter 3-cylinder making just 55 horsepower. There was also a 1.3-liter version with 70 horsepower. This car looked completely out of place on American roads. Park it next to a typical Chevy and the proportions just looked absurd. The interior, even smaller. If you were a bigger person, fitting into this car could actually be a challenge. But despite all that, it had one massive advantage: fuel economy. This thing could hit around 50 miles per gallon in the city, which was insane for the time. That made it a perfect solution for students and budget drivers. So even though it looked weird, a lot of people ignored the design and kept driving it. Number 7, Ford Taurus. The 1996 Ford Taurus was actually loved by a lot of people, but by 1999, things started to go in a very different direction. Everything became oval. The headlights, oval. The air vents inside, oval. The entire design language, completely oval. Even the steering wheel had this weird oval-inspired shape. Now, the engine itself wasn't bad at all. A 3.0-liter V6 with either 145 or 200 horsepower. It did the job just fine, but the exterior design completely ruined it for many people. From a distance, some people couldn't even tell it was a Ford anymore. That's how much identity the car had lost. And when a car loses its identity, that's a big problem. By 2000, Ford redesigned the Taurus again, almost like they were trying to make everyone forget this version ever existed. Number 6, Saturn SC. The Saturn SC was a two-door coupe produced from 1991 to 2002, but by 1996, Saturn decided to shake things up. They introduced plastic body panels to the car, and suddenly it became something very different. It now had that unique 3-door layout, 2 main doors, plus a small rear access door on one side, and a full plastic exterior wrapping the entire body. Under the hood, you had a 1.9-liter DOHC 4-cylinder making 124 horsepower, or a simpler SOHC version with 100 horsepower. The problem was the identity. The plastic body made the car look modern and different from the outside, but once you stepped inside, it felt like 1985 all over again. That mismatch didn't sit well with people, and the whole 3-door but looks like a 2-door design. It just confused buyers. Even though Saturn aimed this car at younger drivers, they struggled to connect with that audience, and sales never really reached the level they were hoping for. Number 5, Oldsmobile Silhouette. This car actually had a nickname. I'm not gonna say it, but if you know it, drop it in the comments. Anyway, the Silhouette was part of GM's big U-Van project in 1990, developed alongside the Chevrolet Lumina APV and Pontiac Trans Sport. And right away, people noticed something. It just didn't look right. It had this long, almost glass-like windshield, a very flat front end, and a boat-shaped body that just didn't feel appealing. Engine-wise, it started with a 3.1-liter V6 making 120 horsepower, later upgraded to a 3.8-liter with 170 horsepower. But the design caused real problems. That huge windshield would turn the cockpit into an oven under the sun. Visibility might have looked great on paper, but people couldn't get used to it, and when safety tests didn't impress either, buyers quickly lost interest. In the end, it went down as one of the strangest minivan designs ever made. Number 4, Lincoln Mark 8. The Lincoln Mark 8 was one of the last big statements in American luxury coupes. First introduced in 1993, it came in with one of the boldest designs Lincoln had ever attempted. Under the hood, it packed a 4.6-liter DOHC V8, producing 280 horsepower, so performance wasn't the issue. What really made this car stand out, and for some people in a bad way, was the rear design. The back end featured a fully integrated, almost hidden rear window. The trunk line stretched out so flat and so far that from certain angles, you couldn't even tell where the car ended. From the front, it looked clean and elegant, but from the back, it almost felt like it belonged to a completely different car. Even today, this design splits opinions. Some people absolutely love it, others just can't stand it. What do you think? Number 3, Oldsmobile Cutlass Calais. Quad 442. This time, Oldsmobile decided to try something really interesting. They took the legendary 442 name from the iconic 1960s muscle car era and slapped it onto a front-wheel drive compact economy coupe. Under the hood, it had a 2.3-liter quad 4 engine. In W40 form, it made 180 horsepower, and with the W41 version, it pushed up to 190 horsepower. But visually, it looked like a completely standard economy coupe. Aside from some black trim and small badges, nothing about it really screamed performance car. Right from the start, this car struggled to live up to the weight of its name, but whether it truly deserved that criticism is still something people argue about to this day. Number 2, Chevrolet Lumina APV. If calling a car Dustbuster became a thing, it's because of the Lumina APV. Sharing the same U-Van platform as the Oldsmobile Silhouette and Pontiac Trans Sport, this vehicle was sold from 1990 to 1996. It came with a 3.1-liter V6 producing 120 horsepower, and in later years, a 3.4-liter option was added. The design was intentionally focused on aerodynamics. That long glass surface and nearly vertical nose made it hard to tell. Was this a car or some kind of spaceship? From the front, it honestly didn't look like anything people were used to. Inside, it was all about plastic and budget vibes. The sliding door edges might have looked smooth and aerodynamic, but in terms of real usability, it didn't quite deliver what people expected. Number 1, Plymouth Prowler. Let's be honest, if you've made it this far, you probably knew this car was gonna show up somewhere on the list, because there's no denying it. Yeah, this thing looks weird. In 1997, Plymouth basically put a street-legal hot rod into production. Open front wheels, retro-inspired design, but packed with modern electronics underneath. It came with a 3.5-liter SOH CV6, making 214 horsepower, later bumped up to 253 horsepower. But here's the biggest issue. It just wasn't as fast as it looked. With such an aggressive and dramatic design, people expected a V8 under the hood. Still, despite that, the Prowler has secured its place in history as one of the boldest, most unique, and most controversial American car designs of its era. So what do you think? What other cars should have made this list? Let's talk about it in the comments.